I'm going to start recording. We're going to see how Restream and everything takes this. 10 seconds in, I'm green lights across the board. CPU is 2%. No drop frames. So let's go take a look at one of these bad boys and see what it looks like. Come on, Restream. All right, there's my thing. I see it. Let's see. Doesn't look nearly as framey as it did yesterday. Maybe that was the fix. I did message Dev and asked him if he'd come take a look. Let's see here. Doesn't look nearly as framey as it did yesterday. Maybe that was the fix. No, it looks good. Everything looks real good, actually. Okay. Well, we'll let it ride and see how it happens. I'm sorry for making you sit through a little technical. You know, I have like a whole new everything. Like, so you're seeing me through my desktop mic on my computer, so it's kind of like, you know, it's not very good. I have a camera that's going out through the OBS, a separate feed, and I've got all these lights and everything in front of me. So last night was the first time I ever tried it, and it was just a little choppy. So obviously, like every time we use it, you know, I'm trying to get all the settings tuned in. So when we actually have our live show, like we're just good to go by then. But let me go ahead and post that we are live.
Gotta love the technical test.
Right, yeah. Okay, and let's, I don't know, let's do a tweet. Maybe folks will come say hello. A little tweet never hurt anybody.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing. Give me just 1 second.
See, the other thing I had to do is I had to basically deactivate all of my Restream stuff because it was all set to Nintendo Shack everything. And I didn't want it like going out like, hey, Nintendo Shack streaming about Stadia, you know. And it should be a pretty easy show, especially for you. You've already covered it. You'll probably pick up a few details I didn't because I jotted down some notes earlier today, but I haven't jotted anything down since then.
Yeah, there's one that in particular that I just realized that we didn't catch on our
We'll save it for the show
that we just did earlier. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Save it for the pod. Save it for the pod. All right, I've done the tweets. We've done the things. Everything looks like it's working. I'm gonna go ahead and click over to the Restream chat. Get out of this. Let's go ahead and close down the live feed. Okay, I got my notes up. I'm gonna pop off the Discord. I think we're ready to go. Chase, you ready?
Let's do it.
Ooh, I'm taking a drink. What are you drinking?
Just good old B case Coke. No alcohol tonight. I'm gonna be clean.
Oh no, I had to lube up for this fire. Dumpster fire.
Let it ride, Donnie. Let it ride.
There you go. I wonder if a water leak. We'll look up to the ceiling. All right. Let's see here. What do we have? 3 minutes and 3.5 minutes. Jot down a note. That's my mark for intro. I didn't do a sound check. Give me a sound check.
Test.
Very good. Everything looks good. Fantastic. Greetings, listeners, and welcome to yet another episode of the Google Stadia Show. Google Stadia Show 009, 6 days away. That's right, we are a week away from launch. This will be the last episode on our road trip, our chronicling of Google Stadia to market before it launches. So, since our last episode, we've had a lot of news that have dropped. We have a launch lineup to discuss. Google had an AMA. There's been some blogs and some things have posted, some things that may or may not have leaked or not be true. We don't know. We don't yet have confirmation. And Jared and Dev were supposed to be here, but I'm going to take all of the blame for this. I've overbooked my week. I had Nintendo Shack, I had Stadia. We have XO for Xbox. We've got 2 or 3 other shows. I've got a developer interview on Friday. So I thought this was scheduled for yesterday, actually. And so did they, until our guest here, Chase. Chase comes over here from Stadia Talk, brand new YouTube channel launched, talking all about YouTube. I don't want him to give himself a plug and everything, but he fills in, and it's fantastic. I was able to go over there and have a nice discussion with him, so I thought I'd reciprocate and let him come over here and have a nice discussion with us. So, Chase, take it away. Why don't you let all of our listeners know who you are and where they can find your content?
Absolutely. So, like you said, YouTube channel covering all things Stadia, all things cloud gaming. You can find me at, and it's actually the official link now since I've gotten over 100 subscribers. And
there you go. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So youtube.com/Stadia Talk. I do a weekly Saturday morning Stadia Talk at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically a live interactive live stream. And then I just recently started a podcast, which we were just talking about off the air with Stadia Player One, who's another YouTube content creator, called This Week on Stadia. And you can actually find us on anchor.fm/T, capital W, lowercase o, capital S. And so far, so good. It's actually been a really good podcast. Eddie's absolutely amazing. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Is your podcast out on podcast services like iTunes and stuff, or do they have to go to Anchor?
Right now, I believe it is just on Anchor.
Okay.
And the only reason for that is because it takes a couple days, to move out to the other services. So
trust me, I know all about that. And I'll welcome you to the Stadia podcasting community. I was mentioning it to Dev and Jared. We don't really take a whole lot of looking at our numbers. Typically I check in like once a month just to kind of see make sure that like we didn't suddenly have 18 million, in the last month or something like that. But Stadia has been quite a surprise for a show that we do regularly, typically once a month. It's up almost 600% in the last 30 days. It seems like leading up here to launch, there's definitely a big community out there looking for Stadia news, Stadia commentary, Stadia opinion. So I've got all the belief in the world that you guys will find an audience out there with This Week on Stadia. And I like the title. It's nice. It's good.
Yeah, and I will say just very quickly that not only the podcast, but the Stadia community as a whole, we have awesome content creators in YouTube, and I consider you,
sure,
PSVG to be part of that because you absolutely are. And that is what is driving everything right now. Is there's strong support for the creators, there's strong support from the community members, and as a whole, I think everyone's just looking for content to be able to make an educated decision as a consumer.
Absolutely,
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it's really cool because even though it's Google and they're so big, like they're such a conglomerate. IGN's doing the IGN first this month, and it's all about Stadia, right? And that's led to what, like 7 blog posts. It doesn't appear to be garnering a whole lot of attention or traction. I'm not seeing it in my daily use case stuff. Like I really only see it on my Stadia like pre-built feeds. Like none of the folks that I'm following for daily gaming, entertainment, commentary, podcast stuff seem to be paying attention at all. So it's this, I want to call it weird, but it's not weird. It's like this odd scenario where you have a big company trying to make a big major push into a market, but yet like indie creators like us can still be somewhat at the forefront of it because the bigger folks haven't got into it yet. Like they still seem to be kind of on the fence. Like they're putting it, obviously, I'm not saying they're not doing it purposely. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, I just don't think the numbers are there for them to dedicate a team or a podcast to it yet. Right.
Yeah.
So it's still like it's on that upswing. We're on the up curve, and it's good stuff, man. Cause like I said, a high tide raises all boats. And when we started this, when we set up for this was a big part of the reason why we wanted to do it. Is I said, look, we have an opportunity to cover something that's brand new. How often does that happen? That hasn't happened in a long time. Even with, we have new consoles, and that's fun. But even with new consoles, especially this generation, it's a lot like last generation, a lot better, but it's still, it's not new. Like the last time something new happened might be like Kinect or Wii. Those were like new things you needed to go to listen, read, talk to people to understand because they were brand, like you never seen anybody waving remotes around and stuff like that, right? Like VR kind of has a little bit of that, but again, that's more like an add-on. This is a brand new venture. It's got brand new stuff. And I think as evident by a lot of the questions and things that you see around the internet, people are confused. There's a lot of people out there that don't really know what to think about Stadia. So without further ado, let's just get into the show. So Chase, here's what I brought. I've got some notes here. I've got some bullet points. Most of the bullet points come from today's AMA, just things that I thought were notable. If I miss anything that you would like to talk about, please insert it. And just some things that I've gathered from blog posts and stuff for the last week. And then after we talk about that, we will talk about a couple news stories, including the launch lineup, which has been confirmed by Google on their blog, on the website, and every other gaming websites across the globe. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to get to it.
You're struggling, Donnie.
I'm trying to make sure that we don't just go directly there. All right, here we go. Here are the news bits that we got from today's AMA and some blog posts over the last week. There will be no Stadia Connect before launch. This AMA on Reddit is the last official professional word, I guess. Maybe they have like a YouTube video or something that we're going to hear from the Stadia team before we get our hands on our controllers and our access codes to jump in and play. How do you feel about that?
I saw it coming, and we've talked about this, but I've kind of talked about it too. That they went very silent after August. I don't want to jump too far ahead because I know you've got very specific points, but I'll just keep it very simple.
Yeah, let it flow, man.
Yeah, we had the controller situation, we had the shipping debacle, which was two pieces, right? Knowing it was a staggered rollout, which we weren't told before. Then the actual craziness with all of the shipping dates in the Google store. Fast forward up to now with the launch situation. So I think with knowing about the launch piece, we kind of had a roadmap that connects or what? They're designed to give you information on new games, new features. If they don't have the current list of games ready, they're not going to jump ahead and start naming new games and create a false expectation for people. And we saw the backlash from the August Connect. And what I'm talking about is we only had really only a few titles that were brand new, like Cyberpunk.
Yep.
So because of that, I think they were very squeamish. And to their credit, I think they made the right judgment call there. But I think the vacuum that has existed since August to this point has not been great for them.
My biggest takeaway with not having Connect, I realize if you don't have anything to say, don't make a big, pomp and circumstance, pageantry type of effort to say nothing. I wouldn't suggest that, but I'm still surprised, somewhat shocked that we haven't seen a developer from Google playing Stadia on Twitch or something yet. That's like the one thing, and I'm not saying that they have to or they should. I feel like that's pretty common at status quo when you're launching any sort of new gaming product, is that you want to have like a live stream, like, hey, come watch us play it. Like, come watch us show you what it looks like, and we'll show you the UI, and we'll walk you around some of the options, and we'll show you the store, and we'll show you what you can expect to have on launch day. And I was really hoping that if we didn't get a Connect, that at the very least we would get like, hey, come join Jade Raymond or John Justice or something this week over on Twitch/Stadia or wherever they want to call it, YouTube, gaming, whatever. And just watch us play, just watch us play something. Watch us play 20 minutes of Guilt or something like that. And let's show you what you can expect. Because I'm still surprised that outside of a few GIFs, like 7-second videos, we still have no idea, really. We've seen glimpses of stuff, but we really haven't been shown what we can expect to really see in terms of any sort of details. And, I know my co-host would say, like, it's not necessary, it's not important, you'll see it when it gets there, and there's something to the surprise and all that. I still think you took a lot of people's money. It's nice to show them what they're going to be getting, and the folks that aren't interested, they don't have to watch. But I think I at least speak for some, that I think some folks out there would want to see it, that they'd be interested in seeing, because one of the things that I've got up, and I'll bring it up later, but there was an article, 9 to 5 Google, going through the APK that once the app's launched, of all the things that aren't launching in Stadia. But we still don't have confirmation that they're not launching on Stadia. So what I expect to happen is when Stadia goes live and people get access, I expect to see a lot more blogs and things write the same article. Here's all the things that Google said you could do that you can't do, right? Like the family linking and the live streaming and the co-op and all that. All these things that I don't think are going to be there, YouTube and sharing and captures and streaming. I don't think that's going to be there. And I think it would behoove them to get out in front of it and be like, hey, yeah, this is on a roadmap. We're doing it. We're going to look forward to it. We're going to be doing this. And they kind of touched on some of it, during the AMA today. But touching on some of it leaves a lot of it like it's just a gray area. It's very open. And it's like these are things you showed on stage. These are things like when you sold the product to people, you like you at least presented that they were going to be there. I think it would behoove them to get out in front of that wave and say, hey, you know, A, B, and C will be here, and D, E, and F will be in January, and these will be in March, and these will be in June. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
No, it's not. And here's what I'll tell you. What you're saying is what I've been saying all along. And we talked about this when you came over on my channel for a little bit. It's the marketing and the PR has just been off. And here's what I'm going to say to you, and just to the listeners as a whole, that Jared and Dev are right. Google's being Google, and I think that is expected here in a sense. I don't fault them in that sense, because I think the way you're looking at it is from the other perspective. Here's where I think I slowly walk away from their viewpoint, but more towards yours, is that would be fine if they told us that up front. And that's where the missing pieces here has happened all along, is they marketed this to be not early adopter, early access. That's the term I've been using. Early access to the service if you pay this amount. If you told us that we were early adopters or beta testers, I think the situation that we're having now with all the backlash doesn't happen as much. Is it going to be there? Yeah, gamers are fickle. We're a fickle breed. There's not a way to escape us picking apart things per se. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think, to be fair to Google, I'm trying to play devil's advocate on the other side of it, is that this is their MO, but in this space, it shouldn't be their MO. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of in both lanes right now. I'm like, I understand it. I get that's what they're doing. I get that they're doing a soft launch. But the other part of me says, guys, you can't do this in this space. Like, this is the one space where you can't get away with negative publicity. You can't get away with not being transparent.
And I would even take it a step further. It's not necessarily negative. It's that there's no confirmation, so you're leaving yourself open for negative publicity. Like it's if they had it on their website, like, hey, these features aren't going to be there at launch, then it softens the blow when everybody writes the articles. But when they write the articles, it's like Google's not telling you. It presents that they're hiding something. It seems shady. And I understand that it's just they want to focus on the positive, but you still have to at least acknowledge, these other things aren't there. Anyway, let's get into some other ones here. Both the Android app and the iOS app have both landed for their respective app stores. That's pretty cool, except the iOS is not, like, you can't play Stadia on iOS, and you can't for the foreseeable future. They were asked about it today in the AMA, and they were just like, someday. I mean, that was really the response. They've no...
Well, there's a reason for that, though, to be fair to them. And I want to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
It has to do with the codecs, because VPX doesn't run on iOS. Like, it's not compatible. So they've got to figure out how do they get some of the other codec technology, like, what is it, HEVC or whatever, or HVEC. They've got to figure out how to get that to run in a have fluidity. Unlike a YouTube video, because you don't have encoding and decoding and input methods. So
the other thing that they announced, okay, and this is not really an announcement, or I think maybe some clarity, but more or less just reassuring. All right, your orders. There's been a lot of talk. We talked about in the last show. I talked about in your show. I think everybody in the Stadia community has been talking about it for the last month. Your orders are going to be shipped in the order that they were received. So if you were number one, they're going to ship yours number first, presumably. When your package ships, you'll receive the code to activate your Founders Edition, which will let you register your name and go ahead and get into the store and all that. You'll be able to play it on the 19th, whether you have your bundle or not. Here's the deal, though. They did clarify you won't get that activation code before the 19th. So if they ship it out today or next week or the 20th, like, the earliest you will get your activation code will be the 19th, and it won't be before that. So I think it stands to reason, with everything that we've seen them do, that there will be several folks that bought Founders Editions that maybe don't get that email on the 19th. Is kind of what I'm expecting it to kind of be in waves, which I can understand. How do you think? Do you think everybody's going to get that email, or do you think it's going to kind of go out systematically? It'll take a week or so for everybody to get their codes.
It'll be staggered. Yeah. And again, this is something that we thought could potentially happen. And I think this goes back to that whole thing about Google is a very conservative company. They don't want to do things in a sense where they jump, even though they know they can do it. And I really think, truly, I've said this before, they may not be the best server company in the world, but when you combine their network pipeline with the server infrastructure, there's no one close. Like, the delivery method that they're offering is, arguably the best. So they're playing it safe and saying, hey, we don't want to overload the servers all at one time, even though we don't think that'll be a problem. Well, I'm saying that.
Sure.
I don't think that'll be a problem, but yes, it's going to be staggered. It's absolutely going to be like that. They kind of dipped their toe in the water to see if you remember a little while back about throwing that out in the blog post. There was the backlash, and they kind of said, "Oh, we're not going to say anything else."
Yep.
I think they've just been in this kind of dangerous spot, Donnie, of we're afraid to piss people off, and it's like sometimes you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and be honest and transparent. And I think if they would do that, it would be much better.
I think transparency goes a long way with the fickle gaming community. I do. I've always thought that. I think it always comes up to light. You look at Hello Games and what is it? Help me. I can see the box art and I can't.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it too.
I'm gonna say like Skybound or something. That's not it. Ugh. I'm gonna look it up. Is it even Hello Games? I think it's Hello Games. Yeah, No Man's Sky. Look at what that thing happened, right? They came out in the E3 stage and they talked about all this this game's going to be this, going to be that, it's going to be amazing. Everybody was so excited for it. They had so much enthusiasm and fervor behind it. And then released, and it's like, hey, these things you said aren't in the game. The game doesn't necessarily play like that, and it doesn't do this and doesn't do that. And they're like, well, it's coming in patches. And that was a huge mistake. It would have been so much sense if you just reversed it. Like, hey, here's what's going to be like at launch, and then here's where we're going, and here's when we expect to get there. You know, Fallout 76, like this has happened in gaming for a very long time. Like there's, you know, the world of video games is paved with the ghosts of games that kind of went down this path. And to be honest with you, expect somebody like Phil Harrison to expect, to predict, to see that, you know, coming. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that I struggle with this is that there's 4 individuals on that team that have, like, between them, they have probably close to 80 to 100 years of experience if you look at it all together. You've got Jack Buser, Jade Raymond, Phil Harrison. You've also got John Justice. Like, there's no excuse in my book for some of the mistakes that have happened up to this point. But again, there was some positive. I don't want to jump ahead, but I'm riffing here, like you like to say. There was some positive movement from the AMA today, and some things that I think are some positive takeaways. I don't think it was perfect, but I think they did make some.
I really liked the AMA today. We'll cover it in just a few minutes, but I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was really good and entertaining. Somewhat. I hate Reddit, but I liked it. You know, but just to close this, you know, I don't want to seem, you know, too overbearing and doom and gloom on it. I think what we've realized in the past few weeks, you know, since August, really, as you stated, is I think, you know, just like Dev said, I mean, he's just right. At this point, whether they've made a misstep or not, or whether it's just a matter of perspective, at this point, all they're focused on is getting those boxes to customers, and they'll deal with the rest after that. Right. Yep. So I think they've really just gone zero dark 30. Let's get Destiny in the hands of players, and let's take it from there. Like, we can't, you know, right? We can't do any, whether it helps or hurts. We're not going to make any risks at any point. We'll just go silent, and we'll just get it out there. Speaking of getting it out there, on day one, you should use the Chromecast Ultra that comes in the box. Your current Chromecast Ultra will not work with Stadia until it receives a patch that is going to be coming soon after launch, at a day to be determined. I would love to know when that is. I mean, see, every time they leave me open-ended for questions, that's the thing that I'm just like, don't say soon after launch. Say a week, 2 weeks, a month, by the end of the year. Give a range, like, you know, like set an objective, because that holds both parties accountable, right? So it's like, okay, I now know not to go buy a bunch of Chromecast Ultras. Shame on me. I already did. Every TV in my house is a Chromecast Ultra. I wasn't even planning on using the Chromecast Ultra, so now it is kind of upsetting that I've got all these Chromecast Ultras that don't work. But if they told me when they were working, I'm not just like sitting there waiting for an update to go buy one, you know, so. But yeah, they are shipping them in the Founders Edition, so if you got a controller, it's the only way you can play. You'll have one whenever you get it, but just know until you get your Founders Edition, you will have to play on a PC through the Chrome browser.
Yeah, and I think I think the reason they're doing this is they don't want to run into a situation where there's an over-the-air firmware update and for some reason it fails or doesn't work. Well, that's going to be a bad look. Imagine someone in their house trying to play on the Chromecast Ultra and it hasn't updated. So
Yeah, but then you just mandate that they pull an update. I mean, I get what you're saying. I understand. I absolutely understand that they physically want to make sure that every unit that goes out is flashed with the latest firmware. I'm cool with that. I just don't understand why they can't push the firmware out to everybody else that has one, unless it's just not stable yet. If it's just not.
That's
right?
what I'm trying to say.
Ready.
I think it's an issue of maybe it's not. They've tried to do because here's the interesting thing.
There's millions of people that have Chromecast, but only hundreds of thousands want to play Stadia on it. So you don't want to put millions of people's Chromecasts at risk just for this one thing.
All these things are just typical stability issue things that you see with new products rolling out. I think that's really what they're doing at the end of the day here with this. That's just my take on it. Donnie, they really just want to say, you know what, plug and play, you're good to go. There's the term. That's what they want to do. Yep. They don't want you to run into downloads. Again, well, think about that. That goes against their mantra. Downloads or patches. Well, download a firmware update. So, maybe that's their thought. Is it, yep. Hey, just plug and play, go.
And I'm sure it'll be soon after launch. I would expect it to be within 10 days. If it's not, then I think they've messed up. Stadia names must be between 3 and 15 characters, so as long as the characters are letters and numbers. So no symbols, no hyphens, no breaks or anything like that. You will have to go through customer support if you want to change it after you've set it. So make sure you set it the right one. They did not say or didn't specify, or I didn't see if they did, if that would come at a cost. But you at least have to call customer service to do so. And you don't want to do that either. So make sure you're pretty set on whichever one you want to do whenever you get yours.
Yeah, they didn't specify, and that's one thing I wanted to know. I wish they would have touched on that and said, "Hey, it's free," or "No, it's not." Just give me the guardrails. Let me know what's up.
Exactly. Okay, this is pretty near and dear to my heart because it's a part of the package that we paid money for. So it's a part of the perceived value that we paid money for. They have not announced the pro game schedule, and they acknowledge it. Like, yeah, we haven't announced the pro game schedule that you get for Stadia Pro, but they said that they will soon. So presumably that comes after launch. He said that you should expect regular games, and he mentioned that the lineup is pretty awesome, whatever that means, right? So, I mean, that's somewhat subjective, but so my issue with the pro gaming, with the pro schedules, I want to know, and we talked about this on your show, I want to know how many games we can expect over a period of time. Is it one a month? Is it one every other month? Is it 12 a year? Like, just give me a number. It doesn't have to be set to a time frame, but you're selling a subscription. We should know what the subscription entails. I can't think of any other subscription that's ever done that. It's so mysterious. It's like, hey, subscribe to us and we'll give you a game whenever we want to. Like, that's basically what we have right now. So I'm very excited to see what the cadence is for these releases. At the same time, I want to know what the type of games are coming. I think that's what everybody wants to know. But the reason that I've been harping on it for the last few episodes of the Google Stadia Show is that it's a perceived value of the box that you paid for, right? So if you're trying to justify in keeping your purchase, so if you're reading all these blogs out there and you're like, oh man, maybe I should cancel my Stadia Founders Edition. We have a few of those folks in our Discord. It's a part of the valuation of the package. Right, you're like, I get a Chromecast Ultra, it's like $50. I get this controller, it's like $50, and I get Destiny 2, that's like $40, and I get this Stadia Pro, and I'm gonna get some game. Am I gonna get a game for it? Like, so I would have at least for the 3 months, I would have loved for them to say, on the Founders Edition, you're gonna get 3 more games. They're like, they don't even have to commit long term yet. Just let me know what I'm paying because I paid for the box, right? Like, we paid for the box, it's included in the box. So what is it? Like, is it Destiny and nothing else? Is it Destiny and one other game? Is it Destiny and 2 other games? Like, that's how somebody would perceive that value could change drastically based off that. If they're like, hey, on the Founders Edition, you're going to get Pro to play in 4K, but we're not going to give you any other games. You just get Destiny. That could change a lot of people's opinions. Vice versa, they could say, oh, you're getting Destiny, and we are planning on giving you 3 other games before March, or before the 3 months ends. That could also change. That could make a lot of people buy it and be like, hey, that's pretty good, actually. I get 4 games, the controller, the Chromecast, and I get to play in 4K. So that's my only harp on that. I realize that they got to have some news to kind of string out and tell people, but I wished this would have been something I would have wanted to see in a Stadia Connect before launch. This would have been probably the thing I wanted to see in a Stadia Connect before launch. I think you sold somebody a part of this package, and they have the right to know what it entails. Even if it's not, I don't need to know exactly all the games, but you could at least let me know how many games.
Yeah, so I guess my take on it, and maybe it's a departure from your viewpoint, Donnie, because initially when we talked about this, I kind of you really were swaying me towards your line of thought. And I thought through it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that's what he's saying is right. What if you just say you get 12 games in the year or 13 games in the year, and that's whenever it happens, right?
Sure.
I think the language that's there, and here's what I hate because this is almost a cop out. I'm going to be very honest in a way. The language that's there is simple in its context. It's you get a game and potentially more. So you are getting a game a month. That's what they're saying at minimum.
That's the takeaway. That's what we've been conditioned to think. I'm not sold that that's to be expected yet.
Well, again, they're saying per month. So if that doesn't happen, then you hold them accountable as a consumer. That would be my response to that.
Yes.
But I think one thing that you just touched on is exactly where I was going to go with my line of thinking is that there will be bundles that are going to happen with this service. It will happen. They will do it. And if you don't think Google isn't already thinking ahead on this, as far as from the business perspective of making money, they sure are. And think about this. Think about Cyberpunk. If they could make a limited edition controller, a Stadia controller, to bundle with your game purchase when that game hits, it's money for them. If they say, look, the controller's normally what, $59.99? We'll sell you the controller at $64.99. We'll give you a 10% discount on the Cyberpunk game, or whatever they choose to do.
Sure.
Or they say we'll give you the whole game and the controller for $110 or something. Whatever the choice is that they do there, which would make sense. It's a little bit of a discount too. So well, actually, no, it's not. I'm bad at math, bad at numbers. So less than 110. It'd have to be like 100 or like 95.
They could find a way. I mean, the ultimate point is they could find a way to bundle stuff in, put it on the box. I like it. It's pretty. We got a question in the chat from Chris Tan. Do you think there's a possibility they've delayed some games because it's already scheduled as a free game, just so founders will not buy twice or have sticker shock or buyer's remorse from buying it on day one? I absolutely think that's probably the case for. I've got the launch lineup and we're going to go through that, but there are some notable things missing from either the list completely and or like the day one lineup. So like I'm kind of shocked that like Wolfenstein Youngblood isn't available. Like why isn't it just available? The game's been out. Just put it on the day. Like why is it's listed as coming later? So it wouldn't surprise me at all if that's one of them. Doom is a game that we've seen Stadia. They've marketed around Doom. It was at E3. It was at GDC. All these people have basically any hands-on with Stadia over the last year has been playing Doom, and Doom is notably absent from the entire library completely. Makes me think that Doom will be the game that we all get. We will get Doom. Was it 2017?
2016.
Right? 2016. We will get Doom 2016 as the game in December or something like that. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, that they're holding something back just to roll that out. I think it would be, I mean, I personally think, my opinion, it would be better to sell the founders. If that's the plan, I think they would have sold more of these if they said that beforehand than after. If they had said, hey, you get Destiny and Doom, like that's better, right? It's better than not Doom. So I don't know.
It's a PR thing, but let me say this. Number one, you're spot on, and somebody already brought this up, and he deserves a shout, is Bill from StadiaCast. He was right on this in regards to Doom and that potentially being an option. But the reason that you don't see these other games on there, this goes back to the fact that there are still games that are being, and we've got to be very careful not to use the term port. And they've been and Google's doing the right thing by saying this too. These games are being built on top of the Linux platform that is Stadia.
Yeah.
So what's happening is some of these games are just not ready. They're just not ready. That's why they're not on there. It's not an issue of them just going, hey, we don't want to flip the switch right now. It's that the game's not ready to roll. Like, for example, perfect example, Donnie, in regards to this is how do I say this? What was the game that was supposed to come out? Grid. There you go.
Grid.
The publisher actually said it was going to come out on the 19th, and then the game's absent. Well, why is that? There's got to be a reason, and my guess is it's a technical reason. It has to be. It doesn't make sense any other way.
Or if they have like some sort of review board or something and it just hasn't cleared yet.
Well, yeah, and that's actually that's a good shout, Donnie, because they do have to go through a certification process. Yeah. So if that isn't completed, then yeah, that's probably part of it too. So that's absolutely a valid point as well.
Yep. So that's my hang up on the pro service, but you will start achieving achievements right away, because games will start recording your achievements on Stadia day one. It's just that the UI and the system that tracks it and displays and shows it to you isn't done yet, so you won't see it. But it will be doing it in the background. So as we play Destiny, if you record any Stadia achievements, they'll be recorded. And whenever achievements do come later, they'll be there for you. So whenever that gets added to the system, you'll be able to log in and see them all and happen. I know achievements matter to a lot of people out there. I'm not one of them. I could care less about it if it ever comes. But a lot of people out there really care about their achievements. They love those badges of honor and they want to show it to their friends. And it will be there. It's on the way. So they're already way ahead of Nintendo in that regard.
Yep.
All right. You will. This is a good one that I was talking about on your show. You will be able to select your stream quality in the app. You will be able to dictate whether or not you want to stream in 1080p or 4K. And I would imagine that they may have levels even in between those. So you can pick and choose how much bandwidth you're consuming. Basically set your quality render, which is fantastic, because I plan on playing in 1080p just to save bandwidth. I mean, I'm fine playing in 1080p, even though I have 4K displays and everything like that. I would rather just play in a good, stable 1080p than 4K if 4K is truly going to eat the bandwidth that they're suggesting it will. I'll try both, definitely, and I'll record both, and I'm going to do some speed tests and things like that, and do some recordings on my bandwidth usage through my Google Home while that's happening. But at the same time, I'll probably play in 1080p most of the time. Like 4K isn't necessarily the biggest sell for me quite yet, until I really can believe it all the time.
Well, so when they did during the AMA today, they actually showed 3 different options that you're going to be able to control the stream quality from your app. Now, that's how that's going to work. So they have the highest setting, which this is crazy that this was not the estimated numbers that some people were doing earlier in the year. 20 gigabytes per hour for 4K, which is nuts. 1080p, which is I think the balanced option, and then they have the lowest one, which is 720, and that'll only pull, I think it said 4.5 gigabytes per hour.
That's nice.
So that'll give you, on average, I think they averaged it out, it's about 200 hours of gameplay. So for people that are in a data cap situation, that's going to be, as far as a day one rollout, that is awesome. Like that's going to ease some concerns. There are people that'll be willing to sacrifice graphical fidelity to be able to play the game that they want to play, which is exactly what you were just talking about, Donnie.
Yep. Sorry, I was looking at something that just popped up here. It says Google details Stadia compatibility with Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo controllers. I have not read that yet, but I'm going to. And then the last thing that I had that they talked about in the AMA, at least that I pulled down that I thought was notable, is that family sharing is not supported on day one. So if you are buying multiple one of these units and you're looking to link, accounts for families like your kids and things, which I think is pretty significant value. It's pretty cool if you could have like a family library where you're sharing all that stuff together. It won't be there on launch day, so you'd have to buy multiple copies of the game, but they did reiterate that it's a high priority feature and they're looking forward to having it early next year. So at the 2020 at the earliest. And there were some other things in there. What other points did you take away? Did I miss anything that you'd like to cover?
I was trying to go through the summary here, and I can't find the question where they answered it. But from what I understood is that 4K, and you may need to pull up the summary from your side, Donnie, to confirm it. But I believe 4K for the foreseeable future is only locked to the Chromecast Ultra.
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
You won't be able to do 4K on your laptop, your PC. You wouldn't want to primarily do it on a phone. I mean, you can, but it's not necessary. 720 is more than enough for a mobile device.
Sure. I was even going to say, like in my 1080p Quest, I think 1080p is going to look so good on my Pixelbook. It's just going to be like really, really nice and pretty.
Donnie, it's funny. Me and you we share the same opinion on that, because 4K for me is only big in movies and in other things like some TV shows. When it comes to gaming, I could really, and I don't want to fault anyone. Like if anyone loves 4K,
I'm definitely not in that bandwidth. I have an Xbox One X and 4K is glorious. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I'll have to try it and see. Like I got to see a few things. How the internet in my house performs while I'm streaming in 4K. Does it just crutch everything and nobody else can use it? Like that's one thing. How much of my data is being used? I don't have a cap on my data, but I'm always worried that like, this is just, I don't know, conspiracy to me, that they'll throttle me down the line, right? If I just start crushing through terabytes of data over and over again, I'm expecting them to like, they'll just throttle me. Like, they'll be like, look, we told you it was unlimited, but this is ridiculous. Like you're going way too far with this idea. So like there's always that hesitation. So I mean, I'll definitely try it, and on certain games I'll do it, but like I don't need to play Guilt in 4K. I don't think I'm gonna get much from that.
No, of course not. And that's what I was going to say. Is for me, this is my roadmap. Just very quickly, I'm going to give Pro the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to see how it runs. I'm going to see, and when I say run, when I say how it runs, the games that we get, because that's my value proposition for it. If come next year there's nothing there for me, I'm happy with base. Base is 1080p. It gives me the minimum that I'm happy to game with. I don't have to pay a monthly subscription unless it's warranted, which is what you were talking about. And I don't have to pay for the next console. Like that's my use case. I don't want to spend $500 to $600 on the next gen console. That's where I'm at. It's about saving money.
Sorry, I'm trying to read this thing. There's all these different charts and all the things. I can't even begin to break it down for the podcast and let folks know. Like I posted the link in the chat. There is on 9 to 5 Google. There's a whole breakdown of which controllers work and on which devices and all this stuff. I can't. It's a lot. It was a lot more complex than I expected when I clicked on the link. Okay, so that was the AMA today. I like that they did the AMA. I hate Reddit. I don't want to turn this in. Like I hate that website. I hate the way it looks. I hate the way it operates. I feel like such an old person when I'm like, what is this? This like weird version of Craigslist. Why? Like the website is so popular. Why don't they make it look better?
We'll turn you into a power user, Donnie. You'll be good. Don't worry about it.
I'm not doing that at all. I'm not doing that at all. But you know what? I will say that a lot of the questions, there were several questions that were asked that I believe the official responses felt dodgy. They didn't fully answer. They just dodge answering, and that's not a good look. You're a week away from launch. Like there should be no questions that you're not answering, even if it's I don't know. I tell folks at my work all the time, like sometimes the answer I don't know is the answer. Like I don't know yet. Like we're working on it. But some of them were dodgy, and the only thing that to say is that it's opening them up to a lot of feedback, like not in their best favor, and that's happening today. And there's a lot of that going around. I did love the answer about the guy actually delivering a unit to somebody's house in the Bay Area. I thought it was hilarious, and a lot of people are running with that as like it's some sort of sign that things are broken or something. And I think they're taking the absolute wrong approach with that at all. I thought it was charming and funny, and it was like a very witty like quip. I hope somebody takes them up on that offer. And I called a few people out on Twitter and retweeting them and responding to them. I think if Nintendo or Xbox or PlayStation said that, they'd completely change their minds. It's because Google's doing it. They're trying to take it in a negative slate. If Phil Spencer was like, and if you want an Xbox, like send me your address and I'll bring you one today. Do you have any like millions of DMs you would get if you that? Like that's a really cool thing that somebody, is trying to do as a fun story, and people are taking a terrible take on it. That's not the right thing to do. So I just did want to give that a little shout out because I appreciate it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was comical. It kind of made the room feel a little lighter, while it was happening, because there were a lot of questions that were piling up that weren't necessarily like positive. So, anyway,
listen, it's them being human, and I think again, and I do want to go to a question that goes to your point about where they dodged something, because there's actually one that I was not happy with, and I'll touch on it very quickly. But they did an excellent job today of being, and I said this, I actually did a podcast a little bit earlier, the one that we talked about, a special edition of that, but we talked about how today was a better day for them about being clearer and concise and being a little bit more transparent. Was it a perfect AMA? Of course not. There was things that they could have absolutely done better. But this is a step in the right direction. And you have to – this is my philosophy, Donnie, and I know you've heard me say this before. I'm very genuine and honest, and I'm going to call it like I see it. If I think there's something good, I'm going to say it's good. If I think there's something bad, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. And up to this point, there's been a lot of bad. Let's be honest. There has been. But there was some steps in the right direction today, and you can't not acknowledge that. You can't not talk about it. And here's the question real quick. Where was it at? So the person asked, what are the top priorities for Stadia post-launch? I personally am looking forward to local multiplayer, and I'm wondering how feasible that would be. And then they put context on it, multiple streams and controller inputs going through one data connection.
Yep.
Now, the first part of the answer is fine. They said priorities. So many. Everyone on the Stadia team is chomping at the bit to get through launch, and we're listening closely to the feedback. Stadia base and sleep are things I'm personally really excited about. This answer, the first part of it was fine. I'm okay with the priorities answer to the what are your top priorities, but the rest of this, like, this should have been addressed, because that is a concern. Like, if you're in a house,
it's something that, again, going back, holding them accountable, it's something that they presented that they can do. They showcased it as a, check out this really cool platform, local co-op, no like loss of quality. That was a selling point of Stadia. Like, look, you're two streams on one screen that you're both playing locally, both in 4K. You're like, this is something Stadia can do that nobody else can do, except it can't yet. And you're like, that's a part of it. And speaking on that, just because we've got Dev in the chat, I know he cares, I just pulled it up just to be sure. Stadia subscribers won't be able to stream games at 4K 60 FPS with HDR on PC at launch. It won't come onto browsers until 2020. So again, another thing that this is, look what we can do that your current boxes can't do, except they can't yet. They can't do it yet. They will do it one day. But the thing that we bought isn't what we bought.
This is why they've been quiet, Donnie. I mean,
yes.
to be fair, they knew this was coming, and this goes back to the earlier point. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Tell us, be transparent. That's all it takes.
I was going to save this to the end, as I typically do on these episodes, where I talk about a hype check at the end. But my ultimate feeling, and that I said in the Discord, that I continue to say is, and I'm just going to say it now, and then we'll get into the launch games. I feel like they shouldn't be launching, to be quite honest with you. Like, this product really feels right for a delay. Like, it's just, man, it's not ready. Like, it's just, in so many facets, it's not ready. Like, I'm sure that they have games, and I know Destiny will play well, but it just doesn't feel ready. I think if they were launching in April, and all of these little things that people would keep following along in 4K, if all these things were ready, I think it'd be so much more positive going into it. We'd have so much more momentum by then. But I did talk about that gamesindustry.biz article where they had the developer from, was it Kine, the puzzle game? Yep. She mentioned, she's like, I don't think Google's trying to have a big launch. Like, that's not the thing they're trying to do. They're actually trying to take it very slow and deliberate and calculated. So they're literally doing this like a game by game basis. Like, let's get it out there. Let's get folks playing Destiny, and let's work on Guilt, and then we'll work on the next thing. And it's very, very slow. And, Dev and Jared have been saying that for a long time. I understand it. I think we all know that that's what's happening. The question is whether or not in the long term, if that's good or positive, or if it's moot. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm typically the person that when you get things to people's hands, you want them to be excited. You want to showcase what it can do. I'm just afraid a year from now, those folks won't be there anymore. That's my big concern. If they keep, I don't think, I wouldn't take it for granted that you'll have all of your users a year from now when you finally start rolling out all the features you told them that were coming.
Here's what I'm going to say. I don't agree with you that it shouldn't launch. It's not that. They should have. This is the thing. It's the messaging. If they had told us this stuff, this launch is okay and it's fine. And I guess that's where I'm at on it. I accept where we're at. I understand Google as a company doing this, but again, here's the lens I'm looking at this at. Let me paint a picture, because radio or podcast is theater of the mind, right? So, but my thought process is here. I'm thinking about this from the general consumer's perspective that knows nothing about Google, never has any interaction with Google, knows nothing about their processes. Jared and Dev know that. I know that. You admit you know that. So someone coming in is going to go, okay, well, you told me that this is an early access, not that it's a beta, not that it's a early adopter. So why are all these other features not available? So that's where my thought process is that, again, it's an early adopter piece. I'm okay with that, but just tell us. That's it. That's all I care about at the end of the day. I just want transparency. If I have that, I as a consumer can make you, Donnie, can make an educated decision and say, yeah, I like it. No, I don't. And I'm not gonna jump on until I see all these features are ready to go and I see it working legitimately,
And ultimately, I just hope, and I think they are, actually. I think all the developers speak and everybody that's working with the team and seeing the money that they're investing in Stadia, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think they're willing and ready to weather like the storm. And I think that's got to be there with like this slow launch. With a slow, ever evolving like rollout, they've got to be willing to have to jumpstart this a year from now and 2 years from now, like when they finally are kicking on all cylinders and all gears, when they actually have to get into it. They're going to have to win over, I think, a lot of people's opinion. I don't think of the customers like us. I don't think we're just going to like throw it in the trash or anything like that. But I think the general consumers, after these slow launch, because I can already tell you, like, these articles and things are coming. Like next week, like they're going to be there. There's going to be a lot of them. And
they've already started.
Yeah, like that's happening. So they're going to have to win some folks over. And as long as they're willing to play the long game that Jared and Dev keep saying, as long as they're really, really committed to it, and they say, hey, year over year, we're going to get the best games on our platform. They're going to look and play the best. And yeah, maybe we don't make, billions the first year. That's okay. We'll eat a loss for years to come until we do. And they've got the money to do that. And if they're willing to do that, then it'll all be okay in the end. There's no need for pitchforks and stuff right now. But I think all the things that we're saying could have maybe helped right now, be a little softer and just land a little softer on folks. Okay, let's get into the coup de grace. We know the games that are coming. That's really all that freaking matters. As I keep reminding everybody, it's not about the tech, Dev. Nobody cares. Like, we get it. Streaming is the future. We know it's going to work. You've already played it. Like, we got it. It's going to work. It's not about the tech. It's about the games that you're actually going to play. None of this doesn't work if there's not a game on it that you want to buy. Because if they can't sell you games, then it's all a moot point to begin with. It's all about the games. The games is what matter, and we know what games are coming. So, next week, I have not even looked up. What is the 19th? Was it Tuesday? Tuesday. There we go. Look at that. Right off the top of my head. That's good. Next week, Tuesday, here are the games that you can play. Destiny 2, Kine, Guilt, Red Dead Redemption 2. They were asked a lot of this in the AMA today. We still know if that's 4K 60. I presume it's not. They've like dodged that at every like corner of the internet, right? Twitter, the AMA, like nobody is answering that this game is actually 4K 60.
It's funny, very quickly, so you can get back on track, is that there was a tweet that went out, and I believe it was the Stadia team that tweeted it out.
It was
4K 60,
and then
I think what happened was, I think Rockstar was pissed that they said that without it being confirmed.
Ooh, see, I take it the opposite way. I think Rockstar was like, no, it's not. Like, it's not 4K 60.
It may not be. And maybe that was why, you know what, real quick?
Because it's not on PC.
That might be why Phil was trying to kind of put that little you remember when he said that, well, for artist,
yeah,
oh God.
That's exactly, I know exactly what you're talking about. So he did the article and he was like, look, some people may not want their game to be in 4K 60. Some people may want to use 30 frames per second as a thematic, mechanic. And that was when I was listening to that response, I was Red Dead Redemption. That's all he's talking about right now. He's talking about Red Dead. Anyway, doesn't matter. Thumper, Tomb Raider, the Definitive Edition, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Mortal Kombat 11, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Just Dance 2020, and Samurai Showdown. 12 games on launch day next Tuesday. Okay. By no means does the launch lineup reflect the success or failure of a system down the road. Okay, I get that. I'm not dumb. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not naive to that. That said, all we can really do is judge and compare things based against other things, and if you're going to do that, and you're going to hold them somewhat, respectable, if you're going to put them in the market, in the playground that they want to play at, this is one of the worst launch lineups to have ever launched. I mean, it is bad. It is 3DS bad. It is Wii U bad. It's pretty rough because here's the thing. It's not because these games individually are awful. Actually, a lot of these games are really, really good. Destiny 2, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider is my personal favorite. It's just that they're old. Right? A lot of these games are really, really old. Or they're like Just Dance. Or they're like Thumper. A lot of people like Thumper. It was kind of an indie darling. I didn't like Thumper. But there's just not a lot here. There's not a lot of sizzle. And my issue that we discussed in our Discord about this launch lineup of games is there's not a lot of games here that people are playing. That's the thing. It's not necessarily the games themselves. It's where are the games that people are playing. You would imagine that if you were, if they're investing development resources, which we know they are, as IGN let us know today, they're sending developers to Bungie to work with Destiny. Like we see that they are. Why isn't NBA 2K available at launch day? Because people are playing that game. It's selling out. It's one of the best-selling games of the year. Why isn't it there? Like, that should be a priority to do that. Much more so than Thumper or Rise of the Tomb Raider, in my opinion. Like, those are old games. I'm sure somebody out there hasn't played those games. I get it. Like, I know there's somebody like going, me, I've never played it. Donnie, you're not being correct. The majority of folks that buy video games have either already played and bought these games or have had the option to do so. Like, they've been available. You could have done it if you wanted to. So I just don't see that. It's not about hype and excitement. I just wish there was a little more here that people are actually playing. Now, there are, like, you've Red Dead Redemption 2, huge game. People still play the game. Destiny, God, like, this is the quintessential people are still playing this game. So, I mean, those are good. I'm not taking anything away from it, but everything else is just kind of, it's like, if you're not into Destiny, like, what's there for you? You can play some old games that I think a lot of folks, like, you're tech enthusiasts. So if I'm thinking of like this Founders Edition, right? A lot of these tech enthusiasts that are jumped on, like, these are video gamers. They've probably played the majority of these games. So I just wanted to see something newer here. Also, where's Doom? And shout out to Bill. Where's, like, really Bethesda? Like, all the Bethesda games I thought would be there, like a Fallout or Rage or anything like that. Like, none of that's there. EA, which they went on and on about when they showcased all their partners, and we've got EA, and people are thinking of, like, Madden and Anthem and all this stuff. EA's nowhere to be seen. They're just things that are missing. Now, they did mention that there are games coming out, before the end of the year, which, by the way, is not that far away from now. Like, next week will be the end of November. So we're talking very soon, within a month. We'll also get Borderlands 3, Attack on Titan, Darksiders Genesis, that's a new game, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Farming Simulator, Final Fantasy 15, Football Manager 2020, NBA, Rage 2, Trials, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Ghost Recon, Breakpoint, Grid, and Metro Exodus. So I would have just expected to get a few of those, especially the newer ones, Breakpoint, NBA, some stuff like that, into the launch day lineup. Because, I mean, and ultimately it's just because I don't think you're giving the founders a whole lot of options to choose to buy things, especially, and they didn't release prices either. And that's the other real big part of this is, like, what are the prices? Until they release prices, I have to think that we have to expect it to be full retail. I don't think there's any reason to suspect that Tomb Raider is going to be $12.99. Like, I expect Tomb Raider is going to be $59.99. If it is, that's sad, because you can buy the game on any other platform where it's available for like $8. And maybe it will be. Maybe it'll match the Steam price or something. We just don't know about it yet. But if that's the case, then they should tell us. They should have told us in the AMA. Like, they should have told us when they put the games up, because that could be a big boon to getting some interest into the thing. But I presume, because they haven't told us, that the price will be the full retail, because that's where the publisher's setting the price. Because they like you said, they're putting all this development work and everything into it. They're going to try to recoup that cost.
Well, so, a shout to my co-host Eddie. He actually asked the question in the AMA about pricing, and they did say that they're going to go based off the marketplace. So here's my answer to that, Donnie. It's going to be competitively priced. They're not dumb. They don't want to run into a situation where they're not going to sell anything. I will tell you this. I'm going to somewhat agree with Jared and Dev a little bit here, and I'm going to push back just a little bit. One, I think there's a title here that is going to actually, I'm not saying it's Zelda Breath of the Wild, okay? But it is a title that I think is going to generate a lot of buzz. And I do think it is a title that's going to do fairly well, and that's Guilt. The trailer that actually came out, I'm just going to tell you full disclosure real quick, and then I want to get over to my point. It sold me on it.
Okay.
I'm going to buy it. I'm going to actually.
So you've known for a long time, as you've been a member of our Discord and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been talking about Guilt since they showed it. Like, that's been the game that Donnie's been interested in playing. That said, it's Tequila. And Tequila's done this before. They had an awesome game that had an amazing trailer that they sold everybody on. It was called Rhyme. And Rhyme was pretty terrible. So I'm just going to let you know that I'm excited, and I plan on buying it and playing it. I'm just going in a little trepidatious. Like, I'm not expecting it to be, like, great. Now, maybe they blow us all away, and I would love for that to happen, because it does look great. But Tequila doesn't have the history to really showcase that that's going to happen. But maybe they buck the trend here. Maybe they turn it around.
Well, it's a fair shout. I just think it's got some interesting elements to it. It's got kind of that Alan Wake type of feel,
it does.
if you will.
It looks good.
Which is awesome. That was one of my games that I love.
But again, you don't know the price either. So let me ask you this: next Tuesday, if it's $39.99, are you playing Guilt? It's like, see, that's the thing, and I've talked about this on Nintendo Shack and PSVG for many years. I understand that, like, gaming journalists, they always want to remove price from the equation. They say it shouldn't matter. It does matter. It matters to a lot of people. Guilt for $14.99 versus Guilt for $39.99. It's very different. Like it's a different proposition, right? So that's the thing. I mean, I'm just like I ultimately the point on the launch line. I'm not to tangent too far away. Is I wish there were more games that people wanted to play. Like that. Not I don't want to say people wanted to play. I wish there were more games that current people were actively playing now, and I wish we knew the prices of them.
I agree with you. I think I'm going to buy Guilt regardless. But here's what I wanted to say to you just very quickly is that I think Jared and Dev are onto one thing here, is that when this gets in people's hands, there's an old Steve Jobs quote, and you probably know the one I'm talking about, Donnie, is that people don't realize that they need technology until it's in their hands. And when they do, they tend to go, wow, I didn't know I needed this. Why didn't I have this all along?
Yep.
I think this service will start selling itself when people get hands-on with it, and it goes to a term I've been using for a while, and a lot of people in the community have been saying this. It's convenience factor gaming. It's what the Switch does. The fact that you can boot up a game in under a minute, you can play across your house if, let's say your wife is on the TV watching Walking Dead, and you want to go play a quick match of, this is a terrible game to make a comparison to because we know it's a dumpster fire right now, but Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So that's what is going to sell this thing. The games are just, yes, you're right, Donnie, you need games to get people, the hardcore gaming market into it, even in some cases general consumers. But I think the technology is an important aspect, and Jared and Dev are right on that. That is something that is going to, when people can actually see it at their friend's house, and we talked about this. Remember, we had this conversation about do an ad, Google, where you see someone booting it up, loading it up on the TV, and seeing how it works. Like, that's going to blow people's minds. They're going to go, "What? Are you crazy? There's no way!" And then when they try it and they see it works, they're going to go, "Oh my God, it actually works. Why didn't I have this before?"
Sure.
So that's what I think.
Still got to have the games that people want to pay for.
I mean, that's,
and I know they will, but they don't now, and it should be said that they don't. Like, they don't have it. And somebody needs to say that they don't have it because they don't. It's inarguable. Like, it's in fact, we have it here on paper. Like, the most popular games that people are playing right now, if you go to, like, whatever metric you want to use, sales, streaming, things like that, like, let alone like the things that we've been talking about for months now, like Apex and Fortnite and all these other things, but like even the retail third-party games that people are playing right now are currently not here. When they've got a couple of them, they've got like 2, but the majority of them are not here, and they will come soon. But we'll see how it goes.
What I was going to say. They will come in time. And
they will come. I know. I'm not trying to spell doom and gloom here. I'm just trying to point out a fact that I don't feel like a lot of the Stadia, like Stadia content that you can find, it's very optimistic for Stadia. And I'm not trying to say that I'm not. I'm getting it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to buy Guilt just like you. I think it's going to be $19.99, but we'll see, right? Because like Rime launched for $30 or $40.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like I would expect, Guilt might do the exact same. I don't know. We don't know how long it is, and to be quite frank, we don't even know if it's good. We know there's a good trailer. There's a lot of great games with great trailers.
Fingers crossed, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of a hope. It's a hopeful thing. So like, there's a part of me I would love to sit here and just go, hopeful optimists, yay, all the things. You guys have enough of that. There's enough people out there. Somebody's got to at least try to bring, because here's the thing. There's a lot of other people out there that are on the other side of it. And whether you agree with their opinion or not, like, some of their concerns should also be brought to light. So, with our launch lineup, the question really is, Chase, what are you planning on buying when you get your controller?
It's simple. So here's the thing. Well, once we knew that there was the dumpster fire that is Ghost Recon Breakpoint, that went off my list immediately. So it's actually 2 games, and I've been wanting to play one of them. When GDC happened, there were some little Easter eggs that we kind of saw that told us that Red Dead was coming, and I was like, you know what? As much as I want to play it on my PlayStation, I'm going to hold off. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is one I'm absolutely going to play. We'll see how it plays. We'll see what the fidelity is, graphically, and if it can handle it. And then the other game, I'm pretty sure is going to be Guilt. Destiny comes with it, so we know there's your FPS that you'll be able to play. And then as soon as Darksiders Genesis hits, and I think you're maybe on the same page about this game, that's a day one purchase for me. I am excited about it.
I'm so in on Darksiders Genesis. I want it as soon as I can get it. I was playing Darksiders today on Switch. I'm a very big Darksiders fan. You're talking to somebody. I've contemplated seriously buying the collector's edition, and I actually had one pre-ordered at one point until I got the timed exclusivity is the bonus that pushes me over the edge to go Stadia's way. I actually tweeted them, if I could buy the collector's edition and get a Stadia code with it, I would. But you can't. But I wish I could because I want the statue.
That'll come.
As a longtime Darksiders supporter, even though I did not like Darksiders 3, as a longtime Darksiders supporter, I'm very excited about the game, and it should be a great showcase for what the game can do. And it's not that far away. That's the one thing. I'll probably pre-order it next Tuesday if it's available to pre-order. If I can just go ahead and buy it, I probably will, because it's also a budget release for, if you want to count it as a AAA game, which I would. I think it comes from a respectable developer, and I think it is in a AAA space, and I think it's like $40. It's a budget AAA game. I'd rather spend $40 on Darksiders Genesis than Guilt. If I'm talking, I'm not passing judgment on Guilt. I'm just saying, if they were both equal $40 and I'm putting a blind bet on something, I would go Darksiders way before I would Guilt. Now, I'm probably going to buy them both. So when it comes to the things that I'm looking forward to buying on Stadia, Darksiders and Guilt will be the things that I will purchase. I'm looking at the list here. Not without a sale or a discount or something, I won't buy anything else. I've never done Borderlands, and there's a part of me that wants to maybe give it a try because it would be very new to me. So it'd be like a cool thing new system, new thing, try to learn a new game, see how that goes. But our folks over in the board of video games, they talk about the grind in that game and how I'm like, that's so not my game. I already have that game in Destiny. I'm not going to play it. So why would I do that? So another thing that I was thinking about today is I thought it would have been really, really cool if in our founders bundle, either I would say in addition to Destiny or in lieu of Destiny, it would have been cool if they let you pick a game. I think that would have been cool. Instead of mandating everybody gets Destiny 2, I think it would have been really cool if it was hey, you get the controller, you get the Chromecast, and you can pick a game. Just pick one. Whichever one you want. Dealer's choice, pick one. Whatever you want out of this lineup, we'll let you have it. I think that would be really cool because I think a lot of my, I don't want to say I'm definitely not being mean or anything like that, but a lot of my lack of enthusiasm is that I'm not going to play Destiny. As much as Dev is going to try to make me, and I will boot it up and shoot something in it, I'm just not going to play it. I don't like it. It's not for me. I don't do those types of games, so I'm just not going to play it. So I lose a little of enthusiasm that a core Destiny player has. They're Jones for this because they're getting their game. That's the big thing is I'm not getting that game. And I know Destiny has, 1 million players a day, but there are hundreds of millions of gamers in the world. So there's a lot of people out there that don't fit into that little box. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited nonetheless. Like I said, Darksiders will come soon enough, and I will play my Darksiders, and Darksiders will be my Destiny, and I'll play the mess out of the game. And I'll probably get it later on Switch or something else too. I've bought Darksiders 2 on 4 platforms.
My buddy and I, we are so excited for that game. We're both pretty heavy Doom players. So that Doom
would have been one. I would have bought Doom just to.
God, I said it wrong. Diablo.
Oh, okay.
So that top-down, dungeon crawler type of style game, and this isn't completely that, but it has that element to it. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Okay, so the last thing that you already talked about, but we had a nice little thing on WCCF Tech about Grid and Grid's development, and they did the magic thing. They told me something that Stadia can do that nobody else can do, and they're saying that Stadia offers something consoles can't while developing a whole new mode for Grid Stadia, which has 40 cars on the track at the exact same time, something that is just not possible in other hardware. And I believe this is the first time that we've got a dev to go on a record and say the magical words that Devin wants to hear. Very similar to running the game at max PC settings. They believe it. They think it works. They talked about how great it is, and that's exactly what they said. It's very similar to running the game on max PC settings right now. And that's exciting. That's exactly what Dev wants to hear. He wants all the performance, all the Ks. It's sad he won't get it until 2020. But it's nice to hear that from a developer and actually go on record and say, no, this is the best version of our game. Because the Stadia folks are saying that, but we have not heard that from, Ubisoft and all these other folks are putting games. Nobody's come out and said, this is the best version of Tomb Raider you can play. It's seems like nobody's a little gun shy to go on record and actually say that. So those were the notes that I had for this show. Chase, I want to thank you for coming by, hanging out with us, getting the show. I said this will be our last show before the launch, and then shortly after launch, I got to get back with them. But yeah, Bill and them over there at the Stadia Cast, we're going to do some sort of crossover. Now, it does dawn on me that would be a 5-person podcast if we do Bill and Lloyd, Donnie, Dev, and Jared. So I think I might play producer, and I might just produce the show and hang back, because I don't think anybody needs more of my thoughts. Hell, I did a solo show. So I might get Jared and Dev to get more mic time. But then also there's a part of me that it just becomes a Stadia fest where they just talk about how awesome everything is for an hour. And again, I may have to interrupt. So that might be the thing. I might be the producer who just chimes in from time to time out of the blue. That might have to happen. I don't know if I can sit there and listen to that for 60 minutes.
I was going to say, you throw the flag on the play. Hey.
Yeah, unless it's awesome. You know what? So they did show a little bit more of these like UI videos and things like that. And it looks great. That's another thing, is like they're missing a good opportunity to sell it, because I think it looks fantastic. Like the UI and the design and the organization, everything looks real good. So show it, like show it to people. Be excited. Show them all the work you're doing and have done. Man, I just think it's like a missed opportunity. But again, I'm also like, as Dev reminds me in our Discord, I'm also like super into themes, and especially that's probably just a me thing, man. I'm really into all the design and all the stuff. I want to see how it looks and all the different options that you can do. But we'll see it. We'll see it next week. We are a week away, Chase. Less than a week away. 6 days away from launch. What's your hype check, man? How you feeling?
That's a really, someone hasn't really asked me that question.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Donnie. You put me on the spot. Tempered expectations, but in a good way. I am excited for the service. I think again, my expectation going in is that it will have a very good rollout. We'll have to see. Of course, that's always how I look at things. But tempered expectations. I don't want to go in too high, and I don't want to go in too low. I think I'm kind of in a balanced. Funny balance. That's something they talked about today with the settings, right? Mm-hmm. I'm at a balanced approach on how I look at it. So, but I do think it'll be good. I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised when we get our hands on this thing, and I think it's going to surprise us. I really do.
I do agree with you there. I'm 100% lockstep with you. I think everybody. Well, I don't think I will be, because I expect it to work, and I have since this thing started. That was my whole enthusiasm about it to begin with. I played Project Stream. I've seen it. I know it works. I played Assassin's Creed in my Chrome browser. Like, I get it. It totally works, and I'm sure it's going to work better than it did then. And so I totally expect it to work, and I think that'll be the major takeaway from next Tuesday. After all the media and Digital Foundry and everybody gets their hands and they all say their things, I think the main takeaway will be it does work. It is the future. I personally... just a little, I don't want to say lukewarm, just a little reserved, because a lot of the exciting things for me wasn't just that the system would work. I expected it to work. A lot of the exciting things are still not there. Like, I really wanted like the YouTube integration and all the things all these cool things they show, this co-op and all that. I wanted to see that stuff, because I thought that was the entryway of making this go to that next level. Like, that's the thing that separates it from the pack. And it just won't be there next Tuesday, and that's okay. It'll be there sometime. Well, we've got plenty of time. We've got all the time. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. I will play a round of Destiny with Devin next Tuesday. I will get on there, and I will do something. We will sit on Discord. I don't even know. I've played Destiny too, but I'll try to play a campaign mission or something. We'll do something, and then hopefully I'll play Guilt. We'll see. We'll see what the price is. And so are you, let me ask you a question. Are you just going to just blindly buy Guilt at whatever price? If it's $60 Guilt, the day you get it, you're just going to buy it and play it?
That's a good question. If it's over 50, no. If it's under 50, yes.
So I think if it's under 40, I think I'll get it. I'll definitely buy it if it's under 40. That's kind of the mark where I'm a little getting more than Darksiders and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know. Because like that's the other, it could be like a 5-hour game. I really want a review. I hope a review comes out early for it. I don't think it will, but I would love for IGN or somebody, IGN first. I would love for them to be like, look, we've played and beat the Guilt, Stadia's exclusive. Here's what you can expect. I don't even need to know if they think it's good or not. I'm not talking about a review score. I just want to know like what is the game? How are the mechanics? How long is it? Like, just give me some details on the game before I can accurately judge its value to me. Everybody's going to have to do that, but we'll see. But I think I'm going to get it. That's going to do it. that's going to do it. That's going to do it for the show. We appreciate it, everybody. You can find us over on Twitter at Stadia Podcast. Tune into all the things that we do over on the PSVG Podcast Network, which you can type into your podcast players. So you can find us by searching The Google Stadia Show. And if you're interested into all the other things we do, we have a Nintendo show, we have an Xbox show, we have a newly revamped PlayStation show. We have our weekly variety show and a lot of other stuff. We have a show about board games over on patreon.com/PSVG. We've got DLC where we tell drunken sex stories and all other kinds of things for our patrons. There's a whole separate PSVG After Dark side that you don't even know about. So if you're tuning in, definitely go give us a follow, give us a look, go give us a rating. Just interact with us. Come check us out at the blog or at the Discord, which you can find at psvg.blog/discord. We'd like to hear more from you. And definitely, if you guys are into the Stadia, come check out the Discord, because we have been chatting it up all week long, and we will continue to do so. Our Discord, our Stadia room and our Discord has been on fire, and I imagine the Tuesday will be no different. So we'll start pulling out, at the very least, I'll pull out an Xbox controller and plug it into my PC here and see what happens. So good stuff. That'll do it for us, and we'll see you next time with the guys from StadiaCast. We appreciate it. Check you next week.